Astrological timing for magic. Hello everyone, this is Taliesin McKnight. Thank you for joining me today. This is another video just for Patreon. So this is just for my Patreon subscribers. And of course, if you're watching after a year, this will be released to everybody, so that knowledge is available to everyone. So today I wanted to talk a little bit more in depth into timing for astrological talismans and for spirit evocation. So timing our magic, and this kind of goes into connecting to the rhythms of nature, connecting with the cosmos and going with the tides of nature. Now, when looking at Agrippa's three-world model, which I often talk about, when you're talking about the divine realm of archangels and things like that, or from a pagan perspective, I think when dealing with the planet itself, it's more like the planet. It's interesting. When dealing with higher forces, it's possible that you don't have to worry quite so much about the timing, like dealing with archangels. There are different schools of thought. Me personally, better safe than sorry. Like my grimoire teacher, he does a lot of like Solomonic magic and stuff. I am not a Solomonic, like Key of Solomon magician, but he is. And his view has always been that you don't worry so much about these things for making like Solomonic pentacles and stuff. And yet, I greatly value his opinion. And yet, if we look in the Key of Solomon, it does mention a little bit about like some of the rules of astrology. So that's up to each individual person. Me personally, this is my approach. Me personally, I prefer to follow astrological timing in general for major like rituals, evocation into. All right, my computer did something weird. Anyways, me personally, I like to follow astrological timing, but for like, especially for like a full-on spirit evocation into a crystal or the construction of a talisman, certainly. But when just more of a light devotional approach, light a candle to the archangel, ask for blessings, things like that, I don't really worry too much. Planetary hour and that's it, you know. Light a candle to Raphael and ask for healing or something. But me personally, I think that it's for more serious ritual, it's good to use proper astrological timing, and it can't hurt. It can't hurt, and I think that it's ideal, obviously. And then, but like dealing with more of a devotional approach with like an archangel, I don't worry about it quite as much. But for full-on spirit evocation, you're bringing something into your living room to interact with you, okay? You don't want to do that when the planet's retrograde or whatever. The construction of a talisman, both the creation of the talisman and the consecration of the talisman should be at a good astrological moment. So anyways, today I'm just going to talk about some of the basics here. First of all, the essential dignities. The essential dignities. A planet is strongest, and we're talking about planetary talismans and spirit evocation and stuff. I recommend that people try it out. Keep a record of your spirit evocation or whatever you're doing, right? And then keep a record of what results followed. Okay? But as the essential dignities, the rulership is most powerful. For example, working with the moon in Cancer. The moon rules Cancer. So the moon rules Cancer. Jupiter rules Pisces. Etc., etc. So the moon, rules Cancer as an example. So working within the sign, or like Saturn is ruled by Capricorn, right? When the planet is in its own rulership, it's especially auspicious and powerful. So Saturn in Capricorn, or the moon in Cancer, okay, things like this, that is its rulership. It gets 5 points of essential dignity, technically. Next after that is the exaltation. So the sun is exalted in Aries, or Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So these two essential dignities, the rulership and the exaltation, are the most powerful. So if you're going to make a sun talisman, get the sun in Leo. Ideally, it's rulership. If you can't do that, the sun in Aries is great. And if you can't do those things, then multiple lesser dignities such as term, triplicity, or face. And I plan to make a video going more in depth into the essential dignities and what all that means. I'm going to go more in depth into that. But this video, we're just kind of doing a broad overview. You can learn the essential dignities in like 5 minutes. You could go online, print this off, or get a good astrological, look up the essential dignities of the planets. The most important, and it's very easy, very simple, the rulership and the exaltation. So the sun rules Leo. If the sun's in Leo, it's extra powerful. The sun is exalted in Aries. So the moon rules Cancer. That the moon's in Cancer, it's extra powerful. If the moon is in Taurus, it's exalted in Taurus. So getting the sun very powerful in the zodiac is the essential dignity. Very important. You do not want to work with a planet when it's retrograde or in fall or detriment. I'll get into afflictions in a minute. But you want powerful essential dignity. That's the most important factor. You want Saturn and Capricorn for that's its rulership. Or if you're working with Mars, Mars is exalted in Capricorn, right? So rulership and exaltation, or multiple lesser dignities such as term, triplicity, and face. And you can print this off, look it up, and learn this in like 5 minutes. It sounds super complex, it's like learning basic algebra for the first time, right? It sounds complex, it's really not. You can learn it in like a day. A lot of this stuff. It's very simple. So the essential dignities. Second of all, the planet is extra powerful when it's rising in the east or when it's directly overhead. So the ascendant is the eastern horizon. The planet is rising in the ascendant. Or the planet is somewhat directly overhead in the ecliptic, the midheaven. So the eastern horizon or the midheaven. Within 8 degrees of either side, I think Picatrix says, within 8 degrees of either side of the ascendant, or within 8 degrees of either side of the midheaven, the planet is most powerful when it's rising or when it's in its exaltation in the heavens up above, right? And I think it's ideal, instead of just always facing east, to face the planet. I think that's what Picatrix says. It says to face the planet. So these two factors, just these two things by themselves, makes a very powerful working for talisman, spirit evocation, or astral travel, even to try to explore these realms. So it's good to have an astrological app and to watch what's going on in the heavens so that we can capture these auspicious times. So first of all, the essential dignity, rulership, exaltation, right? Mars is in Capricorn, it's extra powerful or whatever, right? Jupiter Jupiter is in Cancer, it's exaltation, whatever. So rulership and so the essential dignities, and then having the planet rising in the east or in the midheaven within 8 degrees of either side of the ascendant or midheaven, right? And also the planetary hour. Now it's very hard to do the planetary day, the hour, and all this stuff, but just looking at planetary hours. It may sound counterintuitive, it was to me at first, but the planetary hour is more important, vastly more important than the day. This is what the traditional sources say, this is what the experts say. I found it to be true. The planetary hour is more important than anything, than the day. So find whatever day of the week, find the planetary hour of the planet when it's rising or culminating, meaning in the midheaven, and within its essentially dignified through its exaltation or rulership or multiple minor dignities. So we talked about the planetary hour. Make sure that the moon phases. Picatrix talks about bringing stuff in when the moon is waxing, when the moon is increasing, right? And you're getting rid of things. Maybe, you're getting rid of things. The Picatrix, for some reason, it came to me like getting rid of mice or pestilence or whatever you're getting rid of, or any kind of destructive magic. When the moon is waning or decreasing, bringing in things, gain and an increase. So following the phases of the moon. So you have your planet in its sign or exaltation, rising in the east or culminating in the midheaven, and with a waxing moon to bring things into your life, for example. You want the planet unafflicted and the moon unafflicted. This is like pretty basic. You want the planet to be dignified in its rulership or exaltation. You don't want it in the opposite, which is its detriment or fall. For example, the sun is exalted in Aries. On the opposite side of the zodiac, the sun's fall is in Libra. So you want to avoid it when the planet is in detriment or fall, and also when the sun is in opposition or square, or I would say conjunct also aspects to Saturn or Mars. And if you're working with Saturn or Mars, then try to avoid its connection with the other infortune. So avoid, I would say, any kind of aspects with the infortunes, but especially opposition, square, conjunction with Mars or Saturn. You want the planet to not be in its detriment or fall. And not retrograde or like slowed down or anything, right? And then also the moon also. You don't want the moon to be afflicted, because Picatrix talks about the moon as, and the moon is the satellite of Earth, the moon receives the powers of the stars and pours them out over the Earth. So the moon is like this great filter, right? So whatever planet you're working with, the moon is going to color the working. So you want the moon to not be in a square aspect to Saturn or Mars. You want the moon to not be in detriment or fall. So basically you want the planet And also, ideally, you can bring in the fortunes, bring in a sextile or trine aspect to Jupiter or Venus. So basically, you want the planet to be well dignified, especially in its exaltation or rulership, and a waxing moon for increase, and a waning moon for decrease, in the planetary hour. And you want the planet and the moon unafflicted. I mean, that's basically it for that. Now, it sounds complicated, but like I said, this is something that could be learned easily in a day. And once you get it down, it actually gets pretty simple. The only other factor, now I don't want to diminish it because it does get pretty precise sometimes. Another factor is to look at your natal chart. It's largely believed that when a planet is really strong in your natal chart, the talisman of the planet you might find it more effective. So let's say that you want success at work, or you want success. You could work with Mercury for that. You can work with the Sun. You can work with Jupiter. Let's say that Jupiter is very well placed, and then the Sun is in detriment or fall. Well, you wouldn't want to do a Sun, maybe the Jupiter talisman, because it's strong. You may have more of a response, because that's what's placed in your natal chart. So the outer heavens are working with your own inner heavens, more or less. If some people don't seem to have any kind of negative effects from working with afflicted planets in their chart. Let's say there's a certain planet in your chart is just awful, it's horrible. You may be unaffected. I would do some type of an I Ching reading or a geomancy reading. I'd do some kind of a reading. Geomancy is really good because you're actually talking with the intelligence of the planet or spirit of the planet. I'd do some type of a reading before making talismans or doing hardcore spirit evocation with planets that are afflicted in your natal chart. So I kind of just sailed through this, there's a lot more that could be said. And in my future videos, I want to break down these individual parts. But these are the basics. For more of like just a simple devotional approach, you just light a candle, talk to the angel or whatever. By the way, like moving higher up to the third world of Agrippa, the intelligible world, moving higher up, working with the archangel or whatever, you may not see as much negative results when the planet is not well placed. Work with the archangel. Work with the intelligence, which are higher up beyond the celestial realm. Also, more of a soft approach when things are not perfect, like a little incense, ask for some aid, especially higher up from the intelligence or archangel when a planet is not well placed. But for full on, you're going to call on the spirit of a planet. Planetary, you're gonna make a talisman, then I would look at these basic things. So these are kind of the things, and like I said, the more you do it, the easier it gets. And of course, the great classic on all of this stuff is Pick a Tricks. I think it's good to work through this book, and like I said, I'm gonna make more videos breaking down each aspect of this. So, essential dignities. You want the planet ideally within 8 degrees of the ascendant or midheaven during the proper phase of the moon, with both the planet and the moon unafflicted. And then you might want to, in the planetary hour, and you especially may want to work with things that are very well placed in your natal chart. You may find it more powerful that way. So that is just a basic rundown of astrological timing. And this video is for Patreon. And like I said, After a year, it will be released to the masses. So it's for everybody. So, that is it for this evening. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. And thank you so much. I really do appreciate y'all. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. Like, it really means a lot. And I will see y'all in the next video.